Okay, well, I think you may not recognize this frequency. You probably do recognize 7213. That was a preceding frequency that was used by the former W1IT, now K1LEM, who's been corrected by the FCC with a warning letter. And he is behaving quite well, and he's being interfered with, too, as now he has a constitutional right to say his quite some often ignorant things here on the frequency. He has a constitutional First Amendment right to do that, and we want to defend that here. So in any case, just there's a little bit more background here. I basically turned him into the FCC. They worked with the FCC on 6 occasions to corroborate exactly when he was on the air, what he was doing, and they put their high-frequency direction flying center and produced their own evidence and didn't even have to rely on my tape recording. So it was very interesting. He and a couple of other guys, as they were causing. So if you read the ARL bulletin, you'll see that the ARL was monitoring 7213 where he was before, along with 14313, and they were their 2 targets. It was a shame that the ARL was not able to, the OOs were not able to put enough evidence together, but I did. I had the recordings, had Laura Smith on the phone, and and had her hearing what he was saying and hearing what he was doing, and she put their monitoring on and had a little difficulty at first ascertaining the situation because he changed his method of operation, and then he used an illegal ID methodology, and then after that he actually went for two consecutive days, 40 minutes each, which they have on tape, which he doesn't want to hear their tapes. He says he wants the FCC to send it to him, gives the idea the FCC refused to give it to him. No, the FCC, writing a letter, offers it to him, but he never wants to hear it because he knows what's on those 2 days for those 2 days. He and KB3MZ2, both, one actually being a foil for Gary Davis. Now, anyway, I defend Witt's right to be here because he's been operating his radio right, and he came in and while we were QSOing, and I think he even I don't think he reached the threshold of actually having interfered with us, but there are those who would interfere with his rights to be on the air. To say what I think are very ignorant things that he says, that he has an absolute constitutional right under the First Amendment to do that. Okay, and so now that he's operating his radio properly identifying, I have no complaint. KD8IUU.
Yeah.
Oh, he's broadcasting.
N1FM, got somebody that moved in right on top of us, but I'm sure if I'm hearing them, they must be hearing me. Maybe they didn't know, but. Anyway, yeah, well, listen.
Again, KD8IUU for ID.
N1FM. Can you hear me over all that?
Oh, yes, very good, very good. Oh, by the way, I have a recording. I never come to this frequency without a recording going. Because they were so evidentiary and helpful with dealing with the FCC over the problem on this frequency, and which that operation there of W1IT moved from 7213 to here, and the ARL put a great effort up. It actually met with the FCC several times and trying to clean up both 7213, which is the former frequency K1LEM was operating on, and then he moved it to this frequency. And now he has the right to be here in the morning, any time if he gets the frequency first. He has an absolute right to be here. He's properly identifying his call. His mouth is not operating properly, but that's okay. All right. And and he has a good group of miscreants there who say they're silly things. And I have no problem, let's put it this way, I have a problem with what they say, but they have a legal right to do it. And I'm now for these guys, and I'll defend them like I did attacking him when he wasn't operating. I'll defend him for anybody that interferes with you and I or him or anybody here, KD8IUU. Back to you, Tom.
How come he changed his call?
Tom, let's put you off the air now down there in Florida, KD8IU. N1FM, KD8IU. For the lack of hearing you here, we'll just say 7-3 in case your receiver works and your transmitter isn't. We'll say 7-3 now, Tom. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, it's some net that fired up on 84, and of course they let me know they've been there for years and stuff. There, it's just one guy. The rest of the group I'm not hearing, but there's a flag-lander that's running for audio. So anyway, very good, Artie. Well, I don't know. I think it's just one of those things that listen, I've never talked to the guy. I actually have never had a conversation with him, but he makes it a point. He goes to 7,200, and he was talking about me the other day, and he was talking about me here, and talking about how well known I'm with the FCC, but I've never even had a warning. I mean, I've never had anything from the FCC in 40 years. I've had conversations with Laura and Riley when he stepped into that new creative position, and conversations with regarding other friends and stuff like that, but I've never, ever had as much as an email saying, Tom, don't do that anymore. So I don't know what he means when he says that I'm familiar to the FCC, because we all can be familiar to the FCC if we have certain personalities, Artie, but if we do it legally, and we use our call, and we don't jam, and we don't play music, the FCC, you can say whatever you want. The FCC can't touch you, but apparently our friend IT or LEM doesn't know that because he got caught red-handed there, over.
Yeah, now that's where you're over-logical, my friend Tom there. You're over-logical. Let's put it this way. He is beyond logic. He's the most, don't you know, he espouses rationalism, human rationalism, the ability to do inference and deduction, okay, and conclude things properly. And at the same time, he makes all kinds of assertions. This is a guy who I come on in the morning and sometimes say, why is it Radio Absurdium here yet? They have a right to be on the air. Radio 7185 in the morning, Radio Absurdium. Okay, he makes all, what is it? He says, he makes assertions that ham radio is essentially, there's no need to identify your station. He made that, I've got him on 70 recordings saying that. Okay, no need to identify your station, and then he encouraged all those cormers to come on who were not identified, and he did not identify a station either. I've got over 70 recordings of going over 20 minutes, okay, without ID. So, in any case, so in the meantime, what does he do? He makes all these rash assertions. So he's like a broken clock that makes maybe two accurate statements a day, and the rest of the time his clock or his narratives are absolutely made up, and they're made for shock value. They're made to they're slanders in nature when it comes to persons. He picks on persons. Once, if a guy lives, if he doesn't have good grammar, the guy automatically lives in a trailer. That's a little bit of an exaggeration on my part, but he's trailer trash, don't you know? And we have a guy. So I'm just saying, so the personal put-downs, he has no evidence of assertions that he makes. Okay, and he does have once in a while some very good analyses. That yes, ham radio population is actually dying, and the ARL gave it an artificial boost with agreement of the FCC by the licensing. But for him to say that operators who received a legitimate dumbed down license, that is a license nonetheless without code, without good theoretical demonstration, you can memorize a test and all that stuff, those are very good, valid points of argument that he needs to get credit for. But in the meantime, to put down anybody and then come in and interfere and do I've got 170 recordings of willful malicious interference of stalking stations from frequency the frequency when they have to leave because their QSO parties can't hear each other anymore. And there he is. He says, I'm here again. Okay, so the thing is, so in the meantime, what does he do? He puts down the person of the amateur radio because they, even if a person changed their call sign and got a call sign that sounds new, he'll call him a newbie like he did to me. So he called me a newbie. I was licensed as a general class in 1950 and 57. I was licensed as a general class. I dropped my call in 1962. I never renewed it. And then I got back on the air again, so he calls me a no-coder. Yet I'm able to actually copy his call sign at over 20 words a minute, which is against the FCC regulations, and have the FCC verify that he did identify over 20 words a minute using CW. And I'm able to copy it, and they're able to copy it too. And even though I'm a no-coder because I have a new license that doesn't require the code, that's the only kind of license I could have gotten. So that was the case point I made of the slander. In other words, in court, you require evidence. So what he does is he puts down the old amateur radio community, and he's the know-all, be-all, and do-all for all of amateur radio, ranking against the FCC and all of that, KD8IU.
Why are you talking about your lover that way, Dan?
I don't know. The second time I dealt with my frequency being used, and anyway, yeah, you might want to shorten up your transmissions a little bit there. Sometimes, I think I do the same thing there. I'm guilty of it, but honestly, I try and I do hang up there on 7200. There's a few guys up there I like. There's a couple of them I don't like, and then I'm on 7230, and I'm way up the band on another one, 7230. Oh, is it 3032? There's another one, and I love 40 meters. I've been talking on 40 meters for 40 years. So I'm not new to this game, and I was a ham radio operator when I was a teenager, and worked my way up and got my 20 word a minute extra back when the FCC was going around visiting the Marriott Hotel there in areas that didn't have a field office that wasn't close enough for people to drive. They actually went out to you and did the exams, and I worked pretty hard for my extra class. So for him to judge character, and yet all you got to do is pull him up on the internet, and there he is, and look at the but it's amazing. I don't know if I would have changed my call if I got an FCC letter. I've had this call for a long time. I gave it up for a little bit and took it back in the vanity call system, but I'm an original issuee of this, from the 70s. So I don't know. I don't think I would be here talking to you today if it weren't for him. So I have to do a tip of the fedora to Gary and say, hey, thank you, because I don't think, when I was just doing a radio test from Europe through the link there, and you answered me, and you were very gracious, you were polite, you were courteous, and here he comes in saying he doesn't hear you, damn well he hears you. And I said, oh, is that who I think it is? Because I've heard him, but I've never, ever engaged him. I mind my own business with him. But then he decided to shut down my conversation with you, and I just think that, and then he just, he attacked me, and I've never done anything to the guy. And so I think maybe perhaps I have a new calling frequency because of him. So tip of the fedora there, over.
Yes, but my point is that, back to your point is, more so, is the phenomenon, demonstrated phenomenon of you being on another frequency, like you said, and basically having him come there and, he's gone there and interfered with like 7200, and there's a lot of not great things going on 7200, but that's irrespective to the point. But the phenomenon is that what he says is made up in speeches. He made up all these claims about you, that are made out of whole cloth, and without an iota of evidence corroborating anything. And so it's not just personal. He'll make up stories about the FCC laws, how they're totally non-effectual, and that sort of thing. But I'm just saying is he's like a broken clock. Now, here's the only reason that I come here, and actually I encourage his presence there in the morning and discourage, do what I can to say the tape recording is going every minute that I'm listening to him. I'll break in once in a while when his, and I'll call his group my own dub name here. Let's see, Radio 7185, Radio Absurdium, its greatest worst, at its greatest worst in the mornings. And because of the absurd allegations that he makes, that he's like a broken clock, everything else, every other time of the day, he's wrong about what he says. So I'm just saying he's made all these allegations about you, which there isn't an iota of evidence to support. And so don't be surprised, but the reason, here's the point I wanted to say, and I'm going to turn it right back around to you, Tom. The point I wanted to say here is that if I don't defend his rights, when he is operating his radio properly, to be there in the morning, I essentially am saying that my rights to be on the radio, okay, and that are given by the FCC, the grant, really, the privilege, it's not a right, it's a privilege. Okay, that privilege is destroyed. I destroyed my own privilege if I don't defend him. He's properly operating his radio. He could say all the ignorant things that he wants to say, all the slanders he wants to say, all the misrepresentations of Part 97 that he wants to misinform the amateur radio community about, all the rants against persons, and all of that. He can say all those things, and he can make some be right once in a great while, like the amateur radio population was artificially boosted. It actually is beginning to decline, and our hobby, because of the internet, is getting to be like a Model T. But still, Model Ts are a hobby. So anyway, he is right about that, but he pushes it to a point, okay, of disparaging every amateur radio operator who does have a right to operate his antique hobby here, as much as he does, a granted right. So anyway, we'll leave it back to you, Tom. Let me say that again. The point is that if I lose, if he doesn't have a right to properly operate his radio and say all the stupid things that the First Amendment allows him to say, the ignorant things that puts down the whole amateur radio community and all the things by law he's allowed to do, as long as he identifies his station properly, I lose my rights as well by not protecting his. KD8IU. Back to you, Tom.
This guy at 184 keeps keying up. He's been told, I don't know, 3 times now that he's got to get his transmission in, and I got to let him know it's not that I guess there's a group way out west that's talking to 184. They're not bothering us, but this one guy is Five-lander. He just can't help himself. He's got to keep keying up, and I told him 3 times, frequency is in use, but I don't know what that entails, how I can be nice about it. I've tried, and even somebody else told him 3 times, so it's still in use. It's going to be in use, and I don't know what to tell him. There is no rule for me, for somebody to be able to receive a net. He just may not be able to partake right now. I'll try to be nice about it, but when I'm told that we've been here for 60 years and all that, I don't go for that. If it's in use, it's in use. There are no squatters. In fact, Riley's had to deal with that on many occasions with nets. Because 2 guys happen to wind up on a frequency, and if you come now, here's the way I do this, Artie, because I'm really nice about it. If you come to my frequency and say, hey fellas, if you don't mind, if it's okay, we usually run a net here at this time every 3rd Sunday of the blue moon and all that, and if you don't mind, could we get you to move? But if you, first of all, the way I look at it, that gentleman, the Five-lander, he's in my pass band, and what that tells me is I know I'm in his pass band. So I've asked him 3 times nicely, but he did inform me that, his response wasn't rude, but hey, we've been coming here for so many years, Okay, that's fine, but you got to ask me nicely. It's first come, first serve, and I will always yield to a net when there's politeness involved. In other words, if they come to me and say, hey, if you don't mind, if it's okay, and you say it nicely, but if you if you try and practice squatters, or not squatters' rights, but you try and practice history that you somehow have certified that you have this frequency. Well, the only people that have owned frequencies pretty much are the repeater owners, I think. So again, I'm always willing to work with somebody, but they gotta be nice about it and not throw it out at me that, hey, we've been here for 40 years. They gotta come up to me and be nice, and then I'll certainly make the decision, Artie. But anyway, I've told him several times, so hopefully he's hearing this, because I know damn well I'm in his pass band. There's no doubt about it. We're probably right across the Gulf of Mexico from each other, but the rest of the group, they're talking, I think, and I don't hear them. So all is well. The band is kind of short. So anyway, very good, Artie. I don't know. I think on this round I'll probably go ahead. I'll let you tie it up, but it's always very interesting. Somebody that has been bashing. I don't know. He's been slandering. He's crossed the line of slander, and he certainly has said that I'm. I guess it's the way it's worded, how you can take it, that I was very familiar with the FCC. I've never been in trouble with the FCC. I've been a member of the ARRL for 30 of my 40 years of being a ham. I used to just go to the, used to be able to go to the bookstore and just buy QST. It was kind of cheaper than the having a whole membership. So I used to just buy my QSTs at a bookstore, a quarter mile from the house. And then I finally joined. So I've been with ARRL for 30 years and been a ham for 40. And again, not one single warning for 40 years. And I think I've probably been on the air, not counting a 5-day hospital stint, just about every day. And so I'm pretty active. And I'm relatively young at 55. I think I'm gonna be around for a little longer. I'm in reasonably good shape. I work out. Try and watch the heart, try and watch the the cholesterol. I do like to partake in that Jack and Coke there, a couple of those. Well, at least two. At night when I'm relaxing, watching my political shows, and sometimes I watch Fox, sometimes I watch CNN. It depends who's on. I do like Wolf Blitzer, but I like O'Reilly. So there you go. In the Situation Room with Wolf Blitzer. So that's where I'm at. I'm a moderate. I'm right down the middle there. And I like to throw rocks at both sides of the political parties. I hope I covered a lot of information. And over to you, Art, N1FM.
Okay, we'll try to make it short here.